Hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Snow White with the Red Hair, chapter 127. When we last left our heroes, Zen, Kiki, Mitsuhide, and their knights showed up, just sort of wrapping up the whole threat. Just like that, the Burgat twins rescued Shu and Yozumi. The knights, captured the rest of the bandits, and everyone headed back to the Regalia estate, just sort of decompress. They've all been through a frightful experience, but that was kind of it for the dramatic action of the arc. We then sort of got Kaguya revealing her role in all this. How she sort of went from house to house as the sort of not quite a spy, but similar to a spy sort of deal. Until she eventually went to the Burgat house, and Toka ended up using her in the same way her previous employer, who isn't really named, was using her. And she got caught up in the scheme. Basically was just I had assumed that this was all a ploy to bring Toka back to power, but it turns out that Toka was just running this illegal perfume business on the side, and when it fell through, the Earl, who was one of his the Earl was doing the business side of things, and Kaguya was doing the more creation side of things. And the Earl wanted to take all of it. With Toka gone, he eventually, ended up blackmailing Kaguya to be involved. And that's basically where we stepped in. With Kaguya, I think the woman that she poisoned at the soiree back in 120, I think was either the fake lover that Yozumi had, or she was responsible for that. And poisoning her was a warning to her boss or something. But either way, with that said, everything's sort of handled. We find out that Zen and the gang are leaving the next day, but we end the chapter on this nighttime stroll between Eisatsu and Shirayuki that's kind of sweet, as Zen and Obi watch them from the distance. And that's where we leave off. So that said, let's dive right on in chapter 127. Our cover picture here is just sort of Zen half asleep as the Regalia servants watch him. The servants of Regalia can see right in front of them the many sides of His Highness. We open, I guess, the next morning with Ryu calling to Obi. Obi, it's time for breakfast. And Obi questions, where at? The same. Right. And Ryu sort of questions, you left right after eating last night. Are you feeling okay? And Obi jumps up, I'm in tip-top shape. There were just a lot of people. Ryu tells him, true, it's nerve-wracking. Yep. I mean, he clearly was alright, given that he still went out for a nighttime stroll and spied on Shirayuki and Eisatsu for a while. But then we cut to breakfast, where everyone is there except Obi, and Ryu just comments, Sobi's in his room. And Shirayuki comments, back to his old ways again, I see. And again, I cannot say Shirayuki without Siri turning on. I need to do something about that, I think. Anyway, Shirayuki comments, he's probably finally able to relax a little. I suppose. He did fall asleep. And Zen and Kiki are just casually eating their breakfast. As Zen comments, he's a nocturnal guy. Is that what it is? Which, I mean, Zen knows a little bit more than the rest of them, knowing that he was out with Obi last night. And Zen goes on, you know how during the day he leans against the wall with his arms folded? He sleeps standing up like that. Which is, it feels like a nice little, he's trying to dig a little bit at Obi, but Shirayuki's not really thinking about that at all. Just commenting, I meant he's probably able to feel calmer now that you're all here. And Zen gets a bit more genuine here. Well, he'll probably show up by lunch. I imagine he'll get hungry and make an appearance. And Ryu comments, oh, he asked me to bring him some kind of sandwich. And Kiki is just mocking him. Absolutely magnificent the way he plays hooky. Mitsuhide also digging into his meal. He made sure to be around all last night. Probably wants us to give him some grace today. And Zen turns to Eisatsu, who's sort of been left out of this conversation. Apologies, Lord Eisatsu. And Eisatsu comments, oh, not to worry. He told me himself he'd be in his room all morning. And Zen goes on, should I forgive him since the master of the house doesn't mind? And Suraba is just, he's sort of taken aback at just how calm all this is, and how kind of snide it is. And he goes to whisper to his brother, it all sounds like they're just bantering, or is that just me? And Tariga responds, nope, I hear it. Sounds like an everyday thing. And I guess Tariga might be a little more, like, aware of Zen's habits, given that he does spend more time with Zen than Tsuruba does. But Tsuruba questions, sort of concerned, would you be able to fit in, Tariga? And Tariga tells him, no way. His Highness asked me lately if I got him less talkative. And Tsuruba just laughs. Sounds like you're fitting in pretty well. But Tariga, I think it's meant to be like his own little sarcastic comment. Because Tariga responds, want to trade places then? And then I think Eisetsu, in response to like hearing a bit of their bantering, whispers to Shiroyuki, His Highness forgives him, right? And Shiroyuki tells him, yes, I think so. Of course. I guess she hasn't really been around Zen much since the Burgat incident, now that I think about it. But maybe she has. It's been a very long while since I read the initial Burgat arc. But anyway, some like tea or coffee is left out for Obi, maybe. And then someone says, maybe it's Zen. Well then, I'll take my leave. Okay. Oh yeah, it is Zen to Eisetsu. And Eisetsu responds, thank you for sharing your time with me, Your Highness. And Zen responds, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure, after you allowed us to use your house these past days. And then I guess Zen leaves, and we then cut to Eisetsu going to greet Kaguya. Good morning, Lady Kaguya. And Kaguya is just standing very calmly in her room, almost like waiting for him. Because we did learn last chapter that she's going to get sent away somewhere. Good morning, Lord Eisetsu. And Eisetsu looks over and he sees 2 cups of tea laid out. And he sits down, as is Kaguya. Or no, actually, I think he's brought the 2 cups of tea, I think. Because it's Eisetsu who says, have some. It's warm. And Kaguya looks down, somewhat concerned. I made some because I felt like it. You don't need to worry. And with that, she picks up the cup. Thank you. And then she looks at Eisetsu, and either she or both of them have this flashback to back when he was comforting her during that flashback in 121. And Eisetsu then says, Lady Kaguya, I believe that I knew you, and it was my intention to protect you. When I think about that, I must truly apologize. And Kaguya's sort of taken aback at all of the weight that Eisetsu is placing on himself for how little he understood her. And after a moment, Kaguya goes on, I wanted to take out that man on my own. Which comes back to the question I still had at the end of 125, is what was she doing with the sword? Which answers that. She stayed behind so she could kill the bandit. And that sort of stuns Eisetsu. When Yozumi was used against me as a weapon, and I discovered who had done so, I believed that was my only option left. But in the end, I couldn't do it. And Eisetsu tries to comfort her that, of course, because you had Yozumi to take care of. But Kaguya stops him, and also, because there was someone who had saved me once. I truly wanted, one day, to be able to pay back that favor. And Eisetsu is sort of taken aback at how much influence she's placing on him for her life. But in the end, I became a puppet, influenced and led by people whispering in my ear. So instead of making it my life goal to prove them wrong, I decided I should just let the rumors become true. I chose that kind of work on purpose. I confused people and piled lie atop lie. Though surely, becoming someone stronger than that was one way I could have been able to pay you back. Okay, alright, I'm picking this bit apart. So I think what she's getting at here is that, she initially wanted to be better than Madame Lyra, as to repay Eisetsu, to be the kind of person that Eisetsu should have staked his reputation on. But I think at a certain point, she was more than willing, she just gave up and let the rumors run their course, is how I'm interpreting this bit. Though she acknowledges at the bottom here that was her own choice. She didn't have to do that. Anyway, though surely becoming someone stronger than that was one way I could have been able to pay you back. And Eisetsu notes that was my hope. And Kaguya sort of gives this sad smile. I thought so. I'm sorry, Lord Eisatsu. And Eisatsu sort of collects himself and says, it's fine. I'm well aware of how difficult it can be to rely on oneself. And Kaguya seems a little shocked at the grace Eisatsu is extending to her. Lord Eisatsu, I wasn't able to return the favor, but will you hear me out? And Eisatsu just smiles at her. Anything you have to say? And she closes her eyes before beginning. It's all thanks to you, that I, however cowardly I was able to be happy when I thought of my family. The reason I was able to hold out at the end was because you ignored how poorly it would reflect on your reputation, and you took care of me. And we see these images of the money bag he gave her and that final goodbye. That, it's just sweet. They're just a sweet couple. That's my thoughts. It's so difficult even to protect someone who's right at your side, much less someone who's very far away. The fact that we met that day, and you smiled as you told me you had a garden. And we have that, flashback to their first meeting as Eisatsu just laughs and Kaguya is just still unable to understand that, someone is treating her that kindly. I'm grateful for that from the bottom of my heart, Lord Eisatsu. And Eisatsu starts to, tear up, and he, covers his eyes. I see. And then Eisatsu speaks, oh, right. Everyone who worked with you back then is still employed here. They'd like to see you, so you should go talk to them. Well, but since you were let go, Shu has been constantly fielding complaints. I'd like to put everyone in a better mood. And Kaguya, I think he's just sort of shocked that people still, even the servants still, cared about her. After all the rumors, after everything she did, after she let the rumors become true, there still is this people still care. Which is just a nice bit. No matter how many years go by, I'm just happy to be able to see you. And then we cut to Shiroyuki, Zen, and Ryu. Shiroyuki looks out the window, and we see Kaguya, having this reunion with the other servants. That causes Shiroyuki to smile. And then we got to Obi, who's getting his food. Delicious. But this is all kind of fancy. And Ryu tells him they put together a bunch of stuff when we said we wanted to bring something to your room. I see. I'll have to thank them before we leave. So it does look like we're moving on from Regalia. That bit, I'll have to thank them before we leave. Which reminds me, did Eisatsu ever give them permission to plant the Fosterias at Oriold? Because they got caught up in this whole conspiracy. But that's why they came here in the first place. I know it's been a good 17 or 18 chapters since then, but that's why they're here. Anyway, Shiroyuki asks, are you all packed? Yep. And Zen tells them, sorry that you three have to make a trip home too. And Shiroyuki tells them, not at all. We made big progress in researching the perfume. It's best to get the results sent back to the castle as soon as we can, after we finish the rest of the research in Lilius. Okay, so it looks like from what Shiroyuki's saying there, they're putting the Fosterius plan on hold, and are going to go back to Lilius and work on the perfume for now. Find out the best way, which is it's weird that to find the best way to make a cure, because they should already have the cure. Kaguya knows how to make an antidote. I don't know. Anyway, and then this is Shiroyuki's line. It's also probably better to be apart from Lord Eisatsu briefly, which is interesting. I'm curious as to why. I don't know. Maybe there's Eisatsu is tired of maybe so much stuff has been happening around him. He just needs some time off or something. But Obi chimes in. That's probably true. And Zen responds, I sent along a letter to my brother with a report that went back to Wistel. And I heard Miss Garrick is coming to Lilius. Okay, we haven't seen her in a while. Where the fuck? She's been back in the capital for years now. The head pharmacist. She'll probably already be there by the time you arrive. And then Eisatsu comes in. Pardon me. The horses and carriage are all prepared. And we see, they're all making their goodbyes. Shiroyuki's over with Eisatsu, and it looks like Ryu and Shu are together. And then Eisatsu turns to Shiroyuki. I've gotten used to having you all around. I'll miss you. And Shiryuki just gives this, like, innocent smile at him. We'll miss you, too. It'll be quiet without you. And, like, that gets a little, like, jolt of recognition from Obi, it looks like. Yeah, it definitely was. It was some sort of sound, because Asetsu comments, what was that weird sound Obi just made, Shiryuki? And I think this is Obi in response, it just slipped out. Which is, like, pairing this with the last chapter, it feels like maybe they do see Asetsu as a romantic rival in some level, both Obi and Zen, which is weird, because I don't really think that, like, any of their like, maybe you could read their little nighttime stroll last chapter as romantic, but, like, that felt distinctly like two friends, especially, I guess that they didn't hear the conversation, Obi and Zen, but, like, that was about how Asetsu should, like, talk to Kaguya. I don't know. Anyway, night passes, and then the next day, then I think we might be back at Lirius. Look, you can't hang out here. Let us through! Sure, right. I'll take any complaints while I'm eating baked goods in the cafeteria. Who could talk there? Which I don't know what exactly is going on here, but we see Suzu. Oh. And it's Shiryuki and the gang who are back at Lirius after all this time. And Suzu just, like, grabs them. Hey, I've been waiting, friends of mine. And Shiryuki questions, is this crowd gathered because... And then they just see good old Garrick hanging out at like a table. Head pharmacist! And Garrick sees them. That's right. It's good to see you. Sorry for all the trouble. Oh no, this I thought that was Garrick's line. This is Shiryuki's line. I don't know why Sarada does this bit of, like, random blank panels that don't really feel like they should be blank. Like, it's the sort of thing where you're keeping something a secret from the audience, but I don't know what exactly is meant to be kept secret here, beyond just confusing me for like, a single second. Anyway, Shiryuki says, it's good to see you, sorry for all the trouble. And Garrick responds, no, I felt like I should come here, so I'm glad the crown requested I do so. And Ryu, I guess, I'm just, like, shocked at seeing Garrick for so long just run smack into Obi or something. And Obi's like, huh? And Garrick declares, Obi, apprehend him. What? And he just, like, grabs Obi, like, without thinking. And Shiryuki goes over, what's wrong, Ryu? Sorry, I haven't seen her in so long that suddenly my brain went blank. And Suzu just comments, caught like an animal. But Garrick scolds him, but don't just run away without saying anything. Right. Well, I suppose we could spin this like you've become more dynamic. And Obi's just, could you? I think Garrick then responds, and you've gotten taller, you. Yeah. And your world has expanded at the same time. Yeah, this is the first time that, like... Is this the first time? I'm 80% sure this is the first time you've seen Garrick since the time skip, right? So, like, yeah, Ryu has become a lot older since the last time they were reunited. Both, you know, from spending 2 years in Lilius, and also the shit he just went through. It's a nice little affirmation for the fact that Ryu is much closer to being an adult than he was in the past. And then Ryu comments, head pharmacist, and he bows. There are so many things I'd like to talk to you about. And Shiryuki looks at Obi like shocked for a moment, and then she just like bows too, just for the hell of it. And Garrick just laughs. Well then, let's have a late night and talk about all of it. And Ryu is just once you've done whatever work you need, once you've done whatever work you need to is fine. And Garrick just comments, that's why I said tonight. Take a break for now, go get change, and come back later. And all three of them, we see Obi or Shiryuki and Ryu, and then we see Obi all give this little smile. Suzu looks at Obi kind of weird there. And Ryu and Shiryuki have this moment like looking at each other, acknowledging all they've done over the past 15, 20 chapters. Right, then let's go have lunch. And then the nighttime comes, and then we cut to... Oh, it's night and then day. So it's now the next day. I guess they already had their late night drinking with Garrick. They're here? Yes, my lord. And we see someone stepping down the stairs. And it's Obi, Shiryuki, and Ryu dressed up. And then some, like, black clothes. They seem kind of like formal wear. Obi comments, it's finally time. It is. And Ryu, I hope they're well. Oh, and they're back at the Rugilia estate. I guess to finally ask about the Posterias. And like leave and come back. And Eisetsu just laughs. Hey there, welcome back. And Shu comments, it's good to see you here again. And the three of them just like smile at the duo, and they all sit down, have a meal. And I'm guessing this is Eisetsu like giving them a bit of a update as to the situation. Those in need of the antidote are focused up here in the north. Apparently, the governing pharmacy in the capital has given temporary permission for production to commence in Wyrant. And Ryu seems a little shocked at that, but also happy. Oh, no, it's I think it might be Ryu speaking. Again, Sarada does this thing where she doesn't really indicate who's speaking. It's kind of annoying. Because it's Eisetsu who responds, that's good news. And a relief. And Shiroyuki comments, yes, it's all thanks to Yozumi, who provided his treatment records. And Shu tells them, he's returned to being a knight. If you have the time, you should pay a visit. And Ryu sort of nods, we will. And Eisetsu gets this idea, oh, Sir Obi, you and I should go visit Sir Tsuruba. And Obi looks at him kind of confused, why? When we parted ways, he said, and we had this like conversation in the past, when things calm down, let's have dinner together. And Tsuruba comments, absolutely, let's do it at my house. You've been there before for dinner, so I'd feel a lot better with you there. It's not, Obi comments, it's not like there are going to be ghosts popping up, Count. Which is a weird thing there, because I thought that we discussed last chapter that Eisetsu was an earl, which is different from a count. I'm really unclear as to what position Eisetsu has in the nobility, but whatever, no matter. After a moment then, Eisetsu gets down to business. Now then, let's hear it. You're here for something, aren't you? And Obi and Ryu got this little smile at each other, and I honestly, I don't bring it up a lot, but they do really look like almost brothers in that. They look like, the proud older brother watching his little brother finally, like, getting his goal. As Ryu says, yes, we've come to you with a request. All right, what is it? And Shiroyuki asked him, Lord Eisetsu, do you like plants? And Shu and Eisetsu were taken aback there, definitely thinking of Kaguya there. They don't think Kaguya ever asked that direct question. And Eisetsu smiles, sure, I'll tell you. And that's where we leave off, which very much feels like the end of the arc. But that feels like the sort of thing that, like, we don't need to see the negotiations of them getting the permission to plant Posterias and Orioles, because after everything they've been through for the past, when was he introduced? Like 110 or something? For the past, like, 17 chapters or so, right? Like, we know, he's gonna go with it. And so it really makes this feel like the end of an arc. Also, the next chapter being a half chapter really feels like this is it for the Regalia arc, for the perfume arc. The negotiations are kind of a sure thing. So who really needs to show them? And it's also like those last 6 pages are just really sweet. It's the sense that, like, these people really have become friends. They started off so sort of antagonistic to each other, mistrusting, assuming there was some sort of game being played. But at this point, there's just an openness to all of their interactions that's just really sweet. I find the translation kind of weird. The sure I'll tell you doesn't seem like it's really answering Shiroyuki's question. But, like, it's the sort of thing that the moment itself is so strong, just in, like, the panel layout, the way Sarada is telling this, that, like, it works anyway, despite the fact that the translation is sort of weird there. But yeah, with that said, we're done with the arc. This is, I'm pretty sure, the end of the Regalia arc. And it's just a nice little epilogue. The whole denouement happened last chapter. So this is really just sort of everyone relaxing and some last bits of wrap up. We have the sort of like fun little breakfast conversation. I will say the Eisetsu Kaguya conversation is very much the highlight. Just having both of them be fully honest with each other. Kaguya admitting how much what Eisetsu did for her meant to her. How like that's what gave her the strength to go on, because someone, somewhere was kind to her, And she was grateful enough for that to, like, want to be the kind of person that he could be proud of, even if she sort of failed for a while she was working for the Burgats. It's just a really sweet bit. I loved it. I just really liked it. And I like the very understated epilogue to that scene as Shiryuki sees the two of them going to greet the servants. It's just nice. And then it's time to say goodbye. And there's some cute little moments there, you know, as Eisetsu just, like, acknowledges that he'll miss everyone, as will Shiryuki, to Obi's somewhat consternation there. And then we're back in Lilius. And Garrick is around. I wonder how long she'll stay around, given this is not really her home base. And by the time they come back to Rugilia, it does seem like maybe they finished up whatever they need Garrick for in, like, the manufacturing of the perfume, or of manufacturing the antidote, I should say. But it still is just, it's a nice little moment. You know, we haven't seen Garrick in a long time, and seeing her acknowledge Ryu especially, who's just, like, grown up a lot. You know, how old was he in the beginning? 12? And I think he's 14 now. So, like, that's a lot of changing between 12 and 14. It's just a nice little moment, a nice little recollection on the history these characters have, and Garrick acknowledging their growth. It's sweet, it's fun, which is sort of what I have to say for the entire chapter. It's a really sweet epilogue. And then, yeah, they're back at Rogilia. The antidote's going well. And finally, they have gotten permission to plant Posterius at Oriold. So I don't know what's coming next. If they're going to go somewhere else to, like, you know, get permission to plant the Posterius somewhere else, and then get caught up in a whole another bit of drama there. I don't know. You know, the thing about finishing an arc, especially in a series like this, is that I have no idea what's next. Anything could happen now, and that's always an exciting thing as a reader and as a reviewer. Just, like, what will be the next thing to happen here? I don't know. There is still one more chapter in our catch-up. 127.5 came out in February, and then 128 will be in April, I believe, which is only, like 10 days away when that'll be coming out. So still, one more chapter tomorrow, and then we're caught up with Akagami. And I can't wait to, like, finish the, and, you know, I have my misgivings at 124.5. That was kind of a useless chapter. But I'm excited to be back to being caught up with this series, because it's really fun. It's a really good manga, and I love it. And I can't wait to be caught up. So with that said, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, you know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!